Hey everybody, what's going on? I'm Kyle Scott, and I've thought about starting a business-related channel for a while now. And while I wasn't quite ready to do it, I thought with everything going on with the coronavirus, particularly all of the SBA loan-related questions, now would be the time to start the channel. So we're just getting this off the ground. Bear with us with some of the production quality. We're not in our usual studio. I'm a small business owner myself, and I've been digging in to the CARES Act, the SBA loan programs, and specifically the Payroll Protection Program, which is what everybody is interested in. So I figured now's a great time to impart some of what I've found out, everything you need to know about it. To be clear, there is a ton of assistance, not only for individuals, but for businesses of all sizes, particularly small businesses who've had to lay off employees and in some cases shutter not only their doors, but their entire business. There are resources on the local level. We have a link down below to our post on Crossing Broad, and this includes a link to all of the options on the state-based level as well. But we are here to talk about the SBA Loan Payroll Protection Program, which is rolled out as part of the $2 trillion CARES Act that was passed a week ago. This is the tentpole piece of legislation focused on small business. They've earmarked $349 billion with a B, dollars to go to small businesses specifically to pay for payroll and other necessary overhead like rent, mortgage interest, and utilities. So that's what we're going to focus on. This is not to be confused with an SBA Emergency Disaster Relief Loan. These are given out in times of a natural disaster, hurricanes, floods, things like that. Because coronavirus has impacted the entire country, not quite uniformly, but almost, the entire country has been declared a disaster zone, which means those disaster loans are also available for small businesses. Before we get into the payroll protection loan, I will touch on those for a second. That is not the focus of this. However, they are worthwhile loans. Here's what you need to know about them. The emergency disaster relief loans are funds you can get from the government to protect your business. These loans do have to be paid back. Now, they put all sorts of special circumstances on these, so they are low interest. There's not a deep check on revenue and tax returns and things like that. And you don't have to make a payment for a year, and there's no interest for a while, and they'd be paid off over the course of 5 to 10 years. So these are very useful loans, which you should look into. However, they do need to be repaid with one exception, and you should do this by applying for one of these emergency disaster relief loans. Again, link down below in the Crossing Broad article, we lay it all out. By applying, you can check a box that says you would like an emergency $10,000 grant for your business. This includes small businesses up to 500 employees and, very important here, independent contractors and self-employed individuals who've been affected by coronavirus and have lost income. By checking this box, you are not signing up for the loan. You are simply applying for it and asking for a $10,000 advance on the loan. This money, listen closely, does not need to be repaid. The government has been very upfront about this. This is a way to get immediate $10,000 cash to businesses and self-employed people who need it. So you should fill out that application. You should check that box and say, yes, I want the $10,000. You do not have to repay this. You do not have to be approved for the loan. You do not have to accept the loan. It is as close to business stimulus as you will find, so you should do that. That can be done in addition to what we're here to talk about, which is the CARES Act Payroll Protection Program. This loan is meant for small businesses to cover essential costs like employee wages, rent, mortgage interest, and utilities. The reason they are so concerned with payroll is obvious. That is the biggest cost for a number of small businesses, ours included. But in addition, this massive wave of unemployment, firings, and layoffs, furloughs, they want to make sure that not only can businesses pay employees, but they don't have people lining up for unemployment. This is almost a form of unemployment compensation, but they're running it through the businesses so we can keep those people on for a few months and hopefully as many businesses as possible get out on the other side of this. Our business in particular is impacted a little bit. It's not devastating for us, but we know for some businesses it will be. Steve Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, is telling anyone who will listen, if you have a small business, you should sign up for these loans. So even if your situation is not dire, almost every business will be impacted in some way by the coronavirus. If not now, if you're flush with cash, whatever, down the line, the economy's going to look different. If you sell seasonal goods around Christmas and you're thinking this doesn't matter, well, if we're in a depressed economy 6-7 months from now, it might matter to you. So you should consider this loan for sure. It is a way for the government to keep people employed. They want you to do this. Here's how it works. You will be asked, and we'll get into the application process soon, you will be asked to come up with the average monthly payroll costs for your business over the course of the last 12 months. Payroll costs has a very specific definition here. It includes employee salaries, wages, commissions, and tips. And if you have to estimate tips, that's okay. They'll accept a good faith estimate. It also includes any benefits you pay and state and local taxes on those wages. What is not included? And this has been a huge question that I personally have spent hours looking for because we use a number of independent contractor individuals with our business. That does not include payments to individual contractors. However, listen closely here, independent contractors and self-employed individuals are eligible to sign up for this on their own, but that will happen a week after businesses are able to apply. So just keep that in mind if you're self-employed or a contractor or a business who has a contractor. It includes employee wages, commissions, tips, and so on. In the application process, you'll be asked to come up with the monthly average of these costs. So let's say that you spend $120,000 a year on employees, rent, things like that. You're talking about $10,000 a month. Take that $10,000 and you multiply it by 2.5. The point is they want to cover your business, your payroll costs, and your rent for 2.5 months until we can get out of, hopefully, this nationwide lockdown. That is what the loan is meant to cover. The best part about it is a forgivable loan if you use the funds for that purpose, which means if you take that $10,000, multiply it by 2.5, get $25,000 as an SBA backed loan, that money is eligible to be forgiven if you use it for those payroll costs. So what does that mean? That means you either have to keep on the employees you currently have or rehire the employees you may have let go over the last 2 to 3 weeks as everything is locked down. Now through June 30th. Essentially, you need to net out with the same or more employees on June 30th as you had, I think it's on February 15th, heading into the sort of coronavirus panic. That's the gist of it. If you use those funds for payroll costs and things like rent and utilities, you can then apply to have that loan forgiven. Now, to be clear, it is not automatically forgiven. You will have to prove, show pay stubs, things like that to get the loan forgiven, but the guidance is very clear. These loans are meant to be forgiven. The government, the Treasury, is running this through the banks, not directly through the SBA. Why? Just because of the sheer logistics. They're looking to hand out $349 billion over the course of maybe just a few weeks or a few months. The deadline to sign up for this is June 30th, though I wouldn't wait, and we'll touch on that in a second. So there's a lot of money in a short period of time, and the logistics of handing this out right now is overwhelming the banks. As I record this on Friday, April 3rd, which is the day applications are supposed to go live, almost no applications are actually available yet. The bill was signed last Friday. Within 7 days, they're trying to get an infrastructure for the banks to hand out these loans. Those loans then need to be guaranteed to be backed by the government. So the banks are concerned that they're going to give out the money and then do something wrong, then the government's not going to be there to back the loan or credit them for the forgiveness. Banks do want to participate though, because they're getting 3 to 5% interest from the government on forgivable loans. And the portion of the loan that you may have to pay back has 1% interest, which isn't much for the banks, but good luck finding a yield in this current climate. So this is business for the banks, but they need to get their process in place with the government, which is why you're not seeing applications readily available today. So if you hit the link below for our post on Crossing Broad, we lay out all the options and how to get these loans. Here are the main 3 things to know. Traditional SBA lenders on a mostly local level, and again, link in the post below, by state, are able to give out these loans. And they already work with the SBA. They hand out these small business loans all the time. They're equipped to do it. These are smaller banks. Quite honestly, I haven't heard of a lot of them, even in my own state, but there are sorts of banks who are used to doing this. They're absolutely involved in the program. So too are the big FDIC insured banks who might not typically participate in SBA loan program or don't focus on it as a main piece of their business. Wells Fargo, Bank of America, JP Morgan, Chase, all of those want to participate. However, JP Morgan, biggest bank in America, said on Thursday night, they are not ready to do this yet. They don't have a process in place with the government. So most of these big banks, as best as I can tell, including like TD Bank, they have pages on their website that say, this is coming soon. Here's what we know. We'll let you know when you can apply. Most of them will only give out those loans to current customers. So for instance, we use Wells Fargo. I may have to go through them if I want this loan or find a local lender. The third option, and one that might make the most sense here, are online lenders and online lending platforms like Kabbage has said they want to participate, and Fundera, Fundera. We have links to these down below. They've said they want to participate, and quite honestly, I think they might be the best positioned. The reason being is this: the terms of the loan will be the same, and we'll get into some details in a second. It's backed by the SBA. But the reason they might be best positioned is Wells Fargo. If you've ever tried to take a loan or even start a bank account with one of the big banks, you know you usually have to go into a branch. They don't like you doing things online. There's a know your customer rule, anti-money laundering rules they have to abide by. And while the government is trying to waive some of those to get these loans out quickly, banks are concerned that they're going to give money to the wrong person and the government's going to hammer them for that. So this process online through traditional banks could, quite frankly, be a giant pain in the ass. However, online lenders like Kabbage and Fundera have systems set up and in place to handle this sort of infrastructure. Both have guidance and the ability to sign up on their website for what is basically a pre-application, meaning you put in all your information, you upload the documents they think they're going to request, which are not many. There are not many restrictions on this loan. They'll be relatively easy to get compared to other loans. And then once they have the official application, they'll already have your information and they can process it hopefully quickly. We're not talking about tax returns. We're not talking about background check. There will be a background check, excuse me. I think if you've committed a felony within 7 years, there's some guidance on this. However, they're not the traditional checks you're used to, and there is no personal guarantee on these loans. So if you hit the link below, we have all the details of where you can find banks, and we're constantly updating this that are willing to accept it. I would start there or check with your current bank and see what their guidance is. It doesn't really matter where you get the loan, it's who can do it for you the quickest, because the terms are going to be the same across the board. So here's how they work. I already laid out that it's your average monthly payroll cost times 2.5. You get that money and it's meant to last through June 30th. If you use the funds for something else other than payroll costs, you will be on the hook to repay the loan. And here are the terms: 1% interest, and it needs to be repaid within 2 years. So at the end of the day, this is still really aggressive loan terms, even if it's not forgiven. If you use it for what they want you to use it for, which you should, even if you're a small business that is concerned about whether you'll be able to come back in July, August, or September, at the very least, you should use this. You can keep your employees paid for a couple of more months and give yourself, and them, by the way, which you have a responsibility for, a fighting chance when this is all over. So you should do this even if you're uncertain about the future of your business, because it will be forgiven. And there is no personal guarantee on the portion that is not. So 2-year repayment terms, 1% interest on what's not forgiven. How do you get the loan forgiven? Unclear on this. The guidance on what is forgiven is crystal clear and it's all laid out in the details down below. However, you will have to apply for that with the bank. They'll go to the government and then they'll get the money on the back end from the government and you're free and clear. Again, there is the potential for fraud on things like this. So as a small business owner who plans on using this, I implore you to use it honestly. You know, there's not going to be the sorts of checks and balances there are with normal loans. Act in good faith here. There's a lot of people who are struggling, a lot of businesses that need this money. Don't take advantage of it. Use it for what it should be used for, and then get yourself out on the other end, okay? That's 1. 2, know that this loan, if you need money for other things beyond payroll, infrastructure, debt that you have to pay off, incoming inventory. There's plenty of loan options on the state and local level, all linked down below, but you can also get that emergency disaster relief loan in conjunction with the Payroll Protection Program. You apply, get the $10,000 grant, is a no-brainer. You should do that. But you can also apply for that loan, and it's a larger loan with good repayment terms, like up to 5 to 10 years to repay it, in conjunction with the payroll. So if you need the payroll loan to pay payroll and overhead, but you need something else for incoming inventory, you can do that. Just know that you will need to repay the emergency disaster relief loan. If you're an independent contractor, sole proprietor, have self-employed income, you're a real estate agent, a lot of those are technically, as far as I know, independent contractors. They're not paid on a salary. You are eligible for this as well. You can begin applying as an independent contractor or for self-employment income on April 10th. At least as of today, it is April 10th. If you are a small business or a sole proprietor, and I understand there's a very narrow distinction between sole proprietor and independent contractor, but the way the language is written, if you are a small business or a sole proprietor, you can start applying theoretically on April 3rd. If you're an independent contractor or have self-employment income through like a single member LLC, a partnership, things like that, you can begin applying on April 10th, and you absolutely should. This, for you might not have payroll as an independent contractor. You might rely on this money to live. That is what is considered payroll costs. So if you're an independent contractor and you have money coming in and you apply for this loan to cover your payroll is essentially your own income for 2.5 months, and that is also meant to be forgiven. What are the restrictions here? The average monthly payroll costs for one individual, whether it's an employee or self-employed individual, cannot be more than the prorated version of $100,000 a year, which works out to about $8,300 a month. So if you have an employee making $250,000, only up to $100,000 a year is covered for 2.5 months. So 8,300, 1660, something around $20,000 for an employee making $100,000. You can't cover them more than the average of $100,000 a year, and any single business cannot take on more than $10 million for this loan. That's a big number, so this will cover sizable businesses. I don't know if businesses up to 500 employees who have a lot of well-compensated employees, but it will go a long way to most small businesses, and there's plenty of overhead. $349 billion is available. If every business were to get 10 million, that money does run out quickly. Steve Mnuchin has said multiple times that if funding runs out, they will go back to Congress and see if they can get more funding for this. So the plan is there to take the lid off this. However, you know how the Congress, Senate, and the administration work together. So I wouldn't hold my breath for that. I would sign up as soon as you can. So here's what to do. Click the post down below. We lay all of this out. We have links to your local lenders, to state programs, the emergency fund, which big banks are participating, and we're updating this as they put guidance on their websites, and also links to those online lenders where you can begin filling out pre-applications. And these pre-applications will get all the information you need up front, or 90% of it now. As soon as the official app is ready, they will contact you. They'll have most of the info, and theoretically, it should be relatively easy to get these loans. So that's the Payroll Protection Program. I'm sure there's a lot of questions. There's a lot of information here. So if you have them, leave them in the comments down below. Give this video a like. We're starting a new channel here. We usually focus on sports and news and other things on Crossing Broad, so it's a little bit new for us. If you have a question, leave it in the comments down below. I will try and answer it. I've done a ton of research on this just as a small business owner, knowing what's out there for us and for the people who count on us. And if there's enough about one topic, we'll make another video about it tomorrow. Also, be sure to like and subscribe. This is meant to be a commentary on small business and modern business and things that are coming next. So we'll be a wide range of topics on this channel, but right now we're going to be focused on how to kind of get through this mess. So thanks for watching. Hit the link down below. We have links to everything we just discussed.